Today, I'm going to read to you a little bit about bird nest types while you look at the pictures and maybe follow along with the words. When I'm done reading, I'd like you to draw and write 3 types of bird nests in your bird notebook. And then I would love if you would go outside in your backyard and see if you could possibly build a bird nest with the materials that are out there. Usually, birds will use pine needles, small sticks, a little bit of mud, anything that they could find that would be soft in there, like leaves or little feathers. So, see if you could build one in the backyard. You're probably thinking, oh, that's easy, but I'm interested in hearing what you say after you try. And keep in mind that when they build it, they don't even use hands. They only use their beak and their feet. All right, types of bird nests. So you'll see this picture of sand with some little eggs just laying in there. Most birds build some type of nest in order to lay their eggs and raise or rear their chicks. That's why they build the nests, you guys. Some people think it's a house for them. It's not a bird house. They build their nests not for shelter, but for somewhere to keep their eggs. Depending upon the bird, the nest may be large or small. It may be located in a tree or on a building, in a bush, on a platform over the water, or on the ground. It may be made out of mud, dried leaves, reeds, or dead trees. So, nest number 1 that we're going to look at is called the scrape nest. The scrape nest represents the simplest type of nest that a bird can build. It's typically just a scrape in the ground that makes a shallow depression or little hole for the birds to lay their eggs. The California quail does that, and so does a little bird around here called a killdeer. The rim of a scrape nest is just deep enough to keep the eggs from rolling away. Some birds may add stones, feathers, shells, or leaves to the scrape. These eggs are camouflaged. See that? The color of the eggs kind of matches up with what the sand and the little rocks around it might look like. Shorebirds do this, like gulls and terns. Quail do it. This one, look how cute that little guy is. This is called a burrow nest. So the name of the nest is right up here in red, a burrow. So a burrowing nests are shelters within trees or in the ground that act as safe havens for birds and their developing young. Birds use their beaks and feet to carve out their burrows. You could think of it like a little cave. Some birds build a little cave. Most birds create their own burrows, but some, such as burrowing owls, prefer to use burrows that have been created by other animals. This type of nest is used often by seabirds, especially those that live in colder climates, colder parts of the world, because then they can be protected from predators and the weather. Puffins do this, and certain types of plover. This might be a nest you could build in the backyard. You could find a place where ask your parents if it's okay, but if you dig a little hole. A cavity nest. Look at how cute that little guy is. So cavity is a hole in your tooth. Cavity nests are chambers or holes found most often in trees, living or dead, that certain birds will use to raise their chicks. Only a few bird species, such as woodpeckers, nuthatches, and barbets, are able to excavate or make their own cavity nests. Those birds are called primary cavity nesters because they're the first ones who built it. But the majority or most cave nester birds, like some ducks and owls, some bluebirds, use the cavity that was built by another animal. A little chickadee doesn't have a beak strong enough to make a hole in a tree, but it's how they survive the winter. It is their behavioral adaptation. It's the thing or the action that they do that allows them to survive up here. They take over woodpecker holes and they can live inside of it. Cavity nesters often line their nests or pad their nest on the inside with leaves, dried grass, feather, moss, or even fur. They'll often use nesting boxes if they can't find their own cavity in a tree. That is a big, beautiful platform nest. Platform nests are large, flat nests built in trees on the ground, on the tops of vegetation, or on debris that's in shallow water. So, debris might be like a whole bunch of sticks that have gathered up. Many platform nests are reused year after year by the same birds, and every time they just add some more materials to it. This, because every year they might come back to it and they add to it, it can lead to huge nests. They don't take it down, they just come back and they add even more sticks to it. You should see bald eagle nests. There's one in Reno that I've seen on West 4th Street on your way to Mayberry Drive. It's on the top of a telephone pole, but it's really big. Osprey, mourning doves, egrets, herons, and many raptors use platform nests. This is one you might be able to build in your backyard. It's not woven together too well. It's lots of sticks. They are kind of jammed into each other and intertwined a little bit like this, but it's not woven like a basket like some birds do, where they weave everything together. This one is more like crisscrossed until it becomes stuck together. Maybe that's one you could build in your backyard using sticks. The cup nest. So adorable. As their name says, a cup or cupped nests are in fact cup-shaped. They're usually rounded with a deep depression or hole dug down in the center to house the eggs and the chicks. Hummingbirds, some flycatchers, swallows and swifts, and a few other types of birds use this little cup shape. Cup nests are usually made with dried grass and twigs that are stuck together using globs of saliva. They do. They use lots of saliva. Mud and spider webs can be used also. There's a hummingbird that builds a cup nest out of just spider webs because they're actually surprisingly strong strings. Here's a mound nest. Look at that. It's just a mound of mud. You could probably build one of those in your backyard too. Like burrow nests, mound nests serve the double purpose of protecting a bird's eggs from predators and keeping them warm in volatile weather. Mound nests are often made from mud. Sometimes they add branches, sticks, twigs, and leaves. Just a compost pile heats up when organic material begins to decay. So the dead mass in a mound nest will rot and give off heat to incubate or warm up the chicks. So a mound nest gets warm from the leaves and the mud in there being close to the earth. So they found that if they can make their nest so that it keeps the egg warm, then the bird doesn't have to sit on the eggs. An egg has to stay warm in order for the baby inside to grow and to hatch. It's called incubating. So these flamingos have found they don't have to sit on these eggs to incubate them. The mound keeps it super warm. That's pretty awesome. Here's a pendant nest. This is the last one we're going to read about. This is the one that hangs down. Pendant nesters created an elongated sac suspended or hanging from a tree branch and made from bendable materials or pliable materials such as grasses or very thin twigs that they could use like a string. The birds called weavers, orioles, sunbirds are common pendant nesters. So they make that beautiful nest out of what looks like string or really thin fibers from grasses and very, very thin twigs. So go ahead. I'd love for you to write about 3 different nests if you could draw and write about what you learned from this. That would be great. Then if you want to go in the backyard, please don't dig any holes or make any mud piles without talking to your parents about what would be okay in your backyard. But give it a try and you will see that it's not so easy building a bird nest. All right, can't wait.